Okay, so tonight I would like to talk about an article that I found on internet. It's the Quietus. We would say Quietus in French, but the Quietus. I already talked about the Quietus in a previous video, but it was not the same article. However, it was the same journalist, so I didn't know that he wrote so much about Tok. It's Wyndham Wallace. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce it well. Anyway, the information will be written in the description box under my video. The article is named After the Flood, Tok's Laughing Stock 20 years on. So it's kind of an anniversary. It was made in 2011. September the 12th, 2011. It was written then. In the article I talked about before by this same journalist, the article was really very nice, and for Tok and for Hollis, especially for Hollis. In this article, so it was made before the second one, the other one, so this one was before. I can say it's nice, I can say it's mean, it's in between. He tries to find, to compromise, to find good things and bad things, and he tries to stay in the middle. The article is very well written, I think. I think that this journalist really writes really well. But I was not agreeing totally with what was written, and I even left a comment under the article. If you want to read it, I will put the link below in the description box, and you will find my comment, and it's basically what I'm going to talk about now. You are going to tell me why talking about things which happened in the past. Hollis and Tok career is over. It seems so anyway. Tok doesn't exist anymore, so why talking about that, and also why talking about this article which was written in 2011, so it's not brand new either. It's not very far away, but it's not brand new. So I'm going to tell you why it's important to talk about and this article and the subject. It's because what happened then, when, for example, Spirit of Eden was released, or Laughing Stock, or even the Hollis solo album were released, the way it happened, the story around especially Spirit of Eden determined, set the tone for what happened later. And actually everybody who plans to make a career in the music is going to be touched and will relate to this article. And I think that what is said in it is very important, but not by a good manner according to me. And I really wanted to talk about it because when I read it, I thought, no, that's terrible, we must talk about that. So, the Quietus, if you can read, here it's how it's written. I printed it, but actually I managed to read it better on my computer. That's why I also have my computer here open. It's chiefly something which was said by Aspden. Aspden was the manager, the Tok manager then. So his first name was Keith Aspden, was the manager of Tok, and I'm really surprised by what I'm reading. It's not to make gossip and to say how he said that, and it's just what he's saying is going to set the tone on all what happened next and what is happening now. And I think that what he's saying is terrible, especially when you know that he was the Tok manager. I suppose he made some money with Tok, so I don't understand how he can talk like that. Anyway, so I'm quoting Aspden. I was more than frustrated by what went on, Aspden admits. It was an opportunity which few are given, squandered remorselessly. None of the bands speak to each other, and there is no contact between Mark or Tim Green, something I find particularly sad. He makes Aspden makes it clear that he still loves Laughingstock, but adds that I felt sorry for Bolender, UK managing director David Muntz, who had put so much faith and money in the band, to be handed something so genuinely artistic but totally unmarketable. I can't even say the word unmarketable. His honest enthusiasm was ruthlessly exploited, and he was delivered records Bolender had no hope of recouping their considerable investment on. I think if you take a lot of money and control from someone, even if it's a record company, there is an unsaid understanding that you should give them something they can sell in return, and this wasn't done. Mark had his cake and ate it all himself. Wow. And then in the article it's written something else. I think it's the journalist who says that Hollis' actions meanwhile could even be considered foolhardy. Having fed off his paymasters' generosity, he offered them records that were next to impossible to sell, and the legal battles that followed in the case of Spirit of Eden caused contracts to be adjusted so that, according to an interview Phill Brown conducted with Tape Up magazine, actually Phill Brown says it in his book, in the book that I already talked about before in another video. I will write the link below as well, that according to an interview Phill Brown conducted with Tape Up magazine, bands and producers would in future be responsible for delivering masters that could be considered commercially satisfying. Hollis' artistic freedom came at a price to others. So, okay, what happened next? It's Mark Hollis' fault. That is unbelievable. Okay, so I'm going to try to be as short as possible, which is not going to be obvious because that made me so mad. First, Mark Hollis was given an unlimited budget to do Spirit of Eden. The company EMI then said that they were not going to interfere. They let him do whatever he wanted, and he was free to do whatever he wanted. He did whatever he wanted. He did the album he wanted to make. Mark Hollis is a composer, arranger, singer, musician. He's not there to make a music which is going to fit with the marketing, or which is supposed to be commercial. What is a commercial track? Something which is commercial in the 60s is maybe not commercial anymore in the 80s, and something commercial in the 80s maybe look completely has been in 2000 something, you know. So the concept of commerciality is very subjective. It depends when, what, who, for whom, what kind of music, in what context, you know. So it's very difficult for an artist who composes to know what is commercial or what is not. He may think that a piece is commercial, and the record company is going to say, no, it's not commercial. When Mark Hollis was doing The Color of Spring, at the beginning they said that there was no commercial track in the album, and they were not so happy about that and about the album. And you saw The Color of Spring has sold how many records, how many albums? I don't know, but it was crazy. So then they decided to give an unlimited budget and to let Tok Tok do whatever they wanted. They didn't check on the recording, they didn't check on the sessions, they did nothing. They just waited for the result. Who in the business, who is able to spend so much money and to even not check on the investment. I don't know, I have a business myself. If I invest some money on something, I like to know how the money is going to be used and what will be the result. So I'm sorry, but if they didn't do their job, it's their fault. They should have checked on the recording sessions, they should have checked on how the money was spent and for what and what was the result. They should have come sometimes to listen to the music. And even if Hollis didn't want to be checked on, the record company has the money, the record company has the right to say, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to spend my money without knowing where it goes. Hollis is not a manager, he's not a man who is doing the business, so maybe now he's checking on his business, but I mean then he was only busy composing. I don't know what he does now actually, but well, okay. Then he was there to make the music. That's what he did. He made the music. He put all his heart in it. He made a masterpiece. He made a treasure. Then it was not marketable. Why? Why? Because the records company are used to market by a certain way, to do the advertising like this, like that, and if it doesn't fit exactly in what they are used to do, it's not right. They had a product which was quite different from the usual. They should have imagined a way to market it by a different way. How? I don't know. I'm not a marketer myself. I already have difficulties to make the marketing for my own business, so I'm not going to tell them how they should have done. But I'm sure that there was a way to do it. I'm sure. If they were not so like that, maybe they could have marketed it. Later, Spirit of Eden has sold more, much more. I talked about Spirit of Eden to my mother this morning on phone, and I managed to convince her so much that this album was genius that she told me, okay, for Mother's Day I want you to send me this album. I ordered it on Amazon France, and I asked them to deliver it directly to my mother, which makes me laugh a lot, imagining my mother listening to Spirit of Eden. I regret not to be there to see that. But anyway, if I manage on phone in 10 minutes to convince someone that the album is genius, someone who loves usually what is commercial, and this person absolutely wants the album, I am sure that EMI, then, they are much more professional than I am, would have been able to sell this album. Now they are very happy because the album sells well now, 30 years later. Wasn't it a good investment? An album which still sells 30 years later, and now everybody is saying it's genius, it's wonderful. Hollis was so in advance on his time, he was incredible, and now they are very proud to have released this album. But then they were not. Hollis left. Oh, so there was the trial first. EMI sued Hollis because they wanted him to go back in the studio to redo the album. He didn't want to change a thing. They went on trial. I make it short. EMI first won in first instance. At the beginning they won. I don't know how we say in English. And when Hollis went in appeal, I don't know if we say it like that, on appel, so on appeal, in appeal, I don't know how we say in English, he won. So then EMI decided to change all the contracts for the coming artists in the future, and all the artists have to deliver now, from then, an album which is commercial enough for the record company. What is commercial enough? How an artist knows when a track is commercial or not. Something may look not commercial and actually it is. Or something may be considered as commercial and actually it doesn't sell. We never know. Then when I see what we hear on the radio now, all the time, I'm sorry, but 90% of what the record companies consider as commercial, it's crap. I'm sorry, it's crap. It's what we call in French de la soupe. It means some soup. Some soup, it's some crap. It's not good. Why the audience must endure all this crap to please the record companies? And of course, if you play something again and again and again, at a point the people are going to buy because they get used to crap and they think that it's great. Sometimes there is something good and it sells too, but most of the time it's crap. So then Hollis changed of company and he went to Bolender for Laughingstock. Bolender, they knew what happened with Imai. They knew that there was a trial. They knew that Hollis was doing something much less easy to sell, according to the record companies. Why did they sign him? He was going maybe to do the same thing again. They signed him and then they said, what is Laughingstock? We don't like it. So they gave the money. He did what he wanted. They didn't check on that. He wanted to be free to do whatever he wanted. They said yes. He did what he wanted. And then the record company was not happy. I don't even know if they released right away the album. It has been removed from the catalog at a point. I don't know if they put it back or what happened. I don't know. I didn't follow after that. But and you know, in this article, what shocks me the most is that they are talking, the journalist as the manager, they are talking about Hollis like if he was a complete spoiled child who doesn't know what he's doing, who abused the trust of the people of the record company. No, Hollis was there to make music. That's what he made. He made some music. Then the record company is there to check on the investment and to decide if it's commercial or not, or if they want that or not. They didn't. They let him do. So it's their fault. It's not Hollis' fault. It's not the artist's fault. If tomorrow you put me in a studio and you give me a lot of money and you tell me, do your album and we will like it and it's perfect and do whatever you want. Okay, I'm not a professional, it risks maybe to be bad, but Hollis, he had a career before, I mean, he was not unknown, he's not someone just like that who doesn't know what he's doing. So all that, when you have a child, you don't expect from your child to know how to behave if you don't check on the child, okay? So if they are saying that Hollis is behaving like a spoiled child who spent a lot of money to do his art without consideration for the record company, it was up to the record company to make it happen differently, okay? It's their responsibility. They are the investor. They are the people who put the money on the table. They are the people who are supposed to do this job. It's not up to Hollis to know what is commercial and what is not, to know how to market it or not. It's not his job. He has no idea how to market something. So why should he know? I don't know. So then Imai, now in the contracts with the artists, the artists have to deliver something which is supposed to be commercial, so that is not going to be easy for the artist in general. We don't sell art or music as we would sell objects or peas or bread, or I don't know, anything which is an item that you sell. It happens that I sell things in my shop and on internet. I don't sell my stuff by the same way I'm selling my paintings. Not at all. What I'm selling in my shop as on internet, it's of course things that I like, because if I don't like, I'm not going to sell it. But sometimes I think more of the customers than me. I mean, sometimes I sell things that I like, that I wouldn't put in my home because it's not something for me, but I understand that customers may like them, and I try to put myself in the customer's shoes. So I'm doing my business not to impose something that I like and that's it. I try to satisfy the customers. So I'm very detached from the object that I sell. I know that it's for sale and it's really for the customers. When I sell my paintings, it's completely different. First, I paint only what I want. I don't care if it's going to please the customers or not. I don't care what people want. I care about what I want on my paintings. I only think about my own creation when I paint. I do whatever I want. Then it sells or not, I have no idea. I never know in advance. I've sold paintings that I would have never thought that they could sell, and on the contrary, there are some paintings that I thought, oh, people are going to like that, and they don't. So in art, and I suppose in music, you never know in advance, and I think that art as music or anything which is artistic is supposed to, the artist is supposed to make what he wants, and then it sells or it doesn't sell. Of course, in the case of the music industry, it's very particular because they take an art and they try to transform it in a product. So it's a little ambiguous. I don't know how we say ambigu. I will write it, I'm not sure of the word. Because it's art, but they try to sell the art like they would sell some peas or chairs or boxes, or you can't sell music by the same way as you would sell something else, I think. So I have, in my own job, I have the 2 points of view. Hollis wanted to make some art. He wanted to make a music that people would still listen years after and wouldn't be able to put a year on it and would appreciate it years later. It's exactly what happened. He bet on that and he won. We are 30 years later and we are still listening to this album, these albums. Laughing Stock is a marvel. It's probably one of my favorite albums in the world. I have a true love for Laughing Stock. I love Spirit of Eden and I love the Hollis solo album. But in Laughing Stock there is one thing that I absolutely love. It's After the Flood, and not only it's the whole album that I love, but I have a thing for Laughing Stock. This being said, I'm actually very glad that the records company didn't do their job properly and didn't check on their investment, because if they had done that, we wouldn't have Spirit of Eden, we wouldn't have Laughing Stock, and we wouldn't have the Hollis solo album. Actually, I don't know how. For the Hollis solo album, I'm not sure. I'm wondering if it's not Hollis who paid for, who completely produced the album. I'm not sure. But at least we wouldn't have Spirit of Eden and Laughing Stock, and it really would be a pity. And how many albums we didn't have? because the records company prevented them to be released. When I was younger, I saw so many young people who were coming in our home because they were doing the demos at home. We had a small recording studio at home, and they were doing wonderful things, and the records company didn't want them. And I'm not putting myself in it. I think that my own product was not good enough to be released, honestly, but I've seen some people very talented being refused. So I suppose that we missed a lot. We really missed a lot. I'm not the kind of person who likes only intellectual, experimental musics. No, usually I'm not like that. I'm able to love Daft Punk, and I'm able to love Spirit of Eden and Laughing Stock. And I regret that we don't have enough products like that, like these two albums. And I regret that we have so much crap, so many things that I absolutely hate, or that I can't even listen to. And really, I don't think that I'm someone very difficult in music. It's just that there is too much crap, that's it. I'm becoming difficult because we hear too much crap. The very good things are very rare. If Laughing Stock had been released when the Pink Floyd in the 70s had so much success, everybody would have thought, including the record companies, they would have thought, oh, it's genius, we are going to release that, it's so in the Pink Floyd mood, or it's not the same as Pink Floyd, but I mean in the, maybe in the approach or something experimental like that. They would have loved it. I was talking about that with a friend of mine who lives in Paris, and my friend, I know him since we were 8 years old, so we know each other since a very long time. And I'm talking with him about what I'm doing on YouTube, about the videos and everything, because first, because he's interested in that. Second, because his job is to coach people who have businesses and to show them how to expand their activity, how to be creative in their job, and he gives rather good advice. So I'm always talking with him about what I'm doing on YouTube, about Hollis, about my paintings, about Tok and about the music and art. And I like to have his opinion, because his opinion is always good. So his name is Michel Pierre, and Michel Pierre wrote to me an email, because we are writing all the time. Of course, he wrote in French, so I translated it in English for you. And this is what he said. I was telling him that Spirit of Eden and Laughing Stock found their justification with time. So he said, a point you are emphasizing is the long time. From a short point of view, everything is good to make the buzz, and chiefly anything it is after a long time that the obvious appears, that a masterpiece reveals itself as is. Mozart was almost unknown on his time. Hollis got carte blanche, it means a full permission to create. So he created accordingly and knew how to get the benefit of a different temporality. The times of the one or the others are not always compatible. What is the manager's temporality? In what it is reconcilable with Hollis' one. This tension between two different timings allows to release an album. Obviously, Hollis knows how to push it, not to let anything pervert his approach and consequently his work. The excitement is a powerful force for the business, the trend, the novelty. The long term is also the necessary time for the appropriation of what we must learn. Your work about Hollis fits into this logic. That is why it is possible to say that you are doing a masterpiece. Thank you, Michel Pierre. It's very nice to say so. He's very nice. I don't know if I'm doing a masterpiece, but one thing is sure, is that I'm trying to do something of quality, because I'm talking about something of quality, and the least I can do is to try to be as good as my subject, which I'm not. Of course, I won't be able to be at Marketable level, but in my field, in my way of doing, I try to do my best at least. I don't want to work cheap, I don't want to work short, that is sure. One thing is sure is that the aim of the record company, or even its manager, Aspden, they didn't have the same aim as Marketable. Marketable was thinking long term, was thinking art and quality. He wanted to offer something of quality to the audience. The record company, as Aspden, as the manager, were there to make some business. They don't especially care about the quality, they don't especially care about the audience needs and education. They are there to make some money, that's it. And they think short term. So obviously they were not talking about the same thing. They should maybe have talked about that before. However, we wouldn't have these two albums, so I don't regret that they didn't talk about that and that it was a big mess. At least we managed to receive these marvels, and I'm glad about that. So I think that it's basically what I had to say, except maybe that now the work is much more difficult for the young people arriving on the market, in the music industry, because if they want to create something new and different, it's even harder than before. So it means that we are going to have a lot of crap in the future. You know, I don't think that we can progress in art, in whatever art, if we try to do always the same things. And of course, more you repeat the same thing, worse it is. So I'm a very simple customer of music. I'm not Einstein, I'm not super intellectual. I love these albums, and I really regret that we don't have more things like that. That's my opinion. And I think that's all what this manager said. I want to say shame on him. It was his job, the manager, it was his job to make the link between the both. He should have explained better to the record company, and maybe he should have explained better to Marketable. And now he says that because he wants to keep good relations with the record company, probably. But I don't think it's a good idea to say bad things about an artist he worked with. That's not cool, I would say. Anyway, I'm going to stop there, otherwise I'm afraid that my video is going to be very long. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not going to do the marketing of my video. You like it, you don't like it, you want to subscribe or not, you want to comment or not. I just wanted to say what I had to say, and you do whatever you want. And I see you very soon. Bye bye.